You ever notice how the best deals always come at the worst times? The commercial came on Thanksgiving night, halfway through my third beer and my eighth argument with my sister. Loud, glitchy, like it was breaking through static. Midnight madness at the Crossridge outlet, one night only. Everything must go. Everything must go. It wasn't one of the big chains either. Some no-name strip mall I'd never heard of, Crossridge. The ad looked wrong, like it was spliced together by someone who'd never actually seen a commercial before. Stock smiles, stock laughter, but the timing was just off, especially the final line. Prices so personal, they'll cost you exactly what you're worth. I laughed, said probably still cheaper than therapy. My sister rolled her eyes, but somewhere behind her the TV flickered again, just for a second, and I swear I saw my name stenciled across one of the sale tags. I didn't sleep much that night. Didn't want to admit it, but something about that ad got its hooks in me. A mall open at midnight promising prices so low they hurt. That's how retail worked, wasn't it? Paying for profit. So yeah, I went. The Crossridge outlet wasn't even listed on Google Maps. Just a turnoff near Route 7 that I must have driven past 100 times without noticing. When I pulled up, there were maybe a dozen cars already in the cracked parking lot. The sign buzzed weakly above the door, half the neon letters dead, so it just read Ross, G-E-O-U-T-E-T. The inside was wrong in a quiet way, like a real store's reflection seen through dirty water. The mannequins twisted just a bit to follow you when you passed. The price tags weren't paper, they were thin sheets of mirrored glass. When I looked down at one, it showed my reflection smiling when I wasn't, and each tag had a name etched on the glass. One said Tanya Brooks, another R. Collins, another Derek, which I swore wasn't there until I flipped the price tag over. Underneath the names was a number, always different, some small, some giant. Mine said $483.26. That's oddly specific, right? I thought maybe it was coincidence, until I looked down another aisle and saw a man holding a pair of boots, staring at his own name on the tag. He muttered something like, "That's not fair." Then he dropped the boots and walked straight out of the store, trembling. The cashier didn't even glance up. Here's the part that really bothered me. The prices changed depending on what I thought. When I eyed a leather jacket and silently told myself it was too expensive, the mirrored number dropped. Not by $5, by hundreds. Like the store was negotiating, testing how much pride I'd swallow. I laughed, nervous, sharp. "Fine," I said, "you win." And my reflected price froze at $199.99. That's when the voice came from behind me. "It's not about what you pay, it's about what you owe." The cashier, middle-aged woman with a smile like a paper cut. Her tag said manager's special final sale. "You seem like a man who knows value," she said. Yeah, I muttered. "Sure. You understand that cheaper isn't always better." She slid a small slip of paper across the counter, a narrow rectangle, the kind they print returns on. Except this one had no ink. Just an impression pressed into the paper, like braille that spelled my name. "Sign here," she said. "For the jacket?" "For the transaction." My throat was dry, but greed is a funny creature. It hums, it rationalizes. Discount logic. Maybe it's a membership. Maybe she needs ID. And before my better judgment could scream, I signed. When I looked up, she was gone. No, not gone. Behind the counter now stood someone else. Me, wearing the same leather jacket, the same nervous grin. I woke up in my car sweating. The jacket was gone. My phone timestamp said it was still 12:17 a.m., not even 20 minutes after I'd arrived. Maybe I'd blacked out. Maybe I'd dreamed it. Except when I checked my wallet, there was a folded receipt. Doorbuster deal, all sales final. Under that, payment due upon departure. The next few days were slippery. Time didn't behave right. I kept losing track of it. Whole afternoons dissolving like sugar in coffee. People started talking to me like they didn't quite recognize me. and every surface, shop windows, bathroom mirrors, phone screens, showed me wearing that damn jacket even when I wasn't. Then the clock hit midnight 3 days later. My phone buzzed. A notification popped up. Payment due. When I blinked, the number appeared, $483.26. That was all the money in my account, the exact number. And then below it, new text. Balance transferable upon substitution. You think I didn't know what that meant? Of course I did. That's the real horror, right? The math of morality. You can pay your debt or pass it on. So I did what they expected. I told someone. My sister. Thanksgiving had rolled around again, and I told her the story, piece by piece, pretending it was just a nightmare. I mentioned the outlet, the deals, the strange tags with our names. She laughed, rolled her eyes, said I was being dramatic, and while she joked about spooky capitalism, my phone buzzed again. Transfer pending, receiver Brooks Tanya. Her full name. She didn't see it, didn't notice how my reflection smiled when I wasn't. That was last year. I haven't seen my sister since. Cops said she was last spotted near Route 7, heading towards some abandoned outlet mall that closed a decade ago. They found her car out front, trunk open, driver's door ajar. In the passenger seat, a single folded receipt. Doorbuster deal, all sales final, payment received. People always ask me now when I tell this story online late at night if I ever went back to Cross Ridge, and I tell them the truth every time. I don't have to. Every year around Thanksgiving, the ad finds me again, cuts through static like a whisper through glass. And every year, someone else calls me after midnight, their voice jittering, asking if I've ever heard of a store that sells your heart's desire for next to nothing. I always tell them what I wish someone had told me. Don't sign anything. And whatever you do, don't look at the tag too long, because the price, once it learns your name, never stops dropping. You ever notice how sometimes a bargain feels too good, even before you realize why? Like your instincts catch the rot under the shine before your brain does? That's how it started for me, on a windy October afternoon. In the half-empty strip mall outside of Fairview, I was looking for a cheap television. My old one had died the week before, 13 years old, the kind with a faint hum you could feel in your chest when the volume is low. It died during the evening news, right as the anchor's mouth hung open mid-sentence, frozen, like he'd just seen something unairable. So yeah, it was time. The store itself was going out of business. Everything half off, banners slapping in the wind. Inside, the fluorescent lights hummed like anxious insects, and the place smelled faintly of cardboard and desperation. The clerk was this kid, maybe 20, acne and tired eyes leaning against a counter. He didn't even look up when the glass door chimed. Everything must go, he said monotone, like he'd said it too many times to mean it anymore. There was only one TV left. I swear to God, one. It stood at the far end of the aisle, wrapped in plastic, screen dark and tilted toward me, like it was expecting me. A handwritten tag taped to the top said, "Final unit display model." And maybe it was the way the wind howled through the entryway. Maybe it was just me being cheap, but I felt that bargain itch. I bought it. The kid didn't have a box for it. "You'll have to carry it like that," he said, helping me lift it into the trunk of my car. His hand lingered a second too long, fingers brushing the screen. Then he looked me dead in the eye and said, almost apologetic, "Try not to watch too late." I laughed, awkward, waiting for him to grin. He didn't. That night I set it up in the living room. It was heavier than it looked. A real old-school flat screen. Not the glossy wafer-thin stuff these days, but something with weight and warmth. I turned it on. For a second, static filled the screen. That pleasant white hiss like rain on a tin roof. Then picture, crisp, clear, too clear. The channels worked fine. The colors were almost unnaturally vivid. Too real somehow. Then flipping through late-night filler. I landed on a local channel I didn't recognize. No logo, no commercials, just a looping shot of a quiet street. My street. I froze. The camera angle was from across the road, facing my house, soft glow of the living room window, my curtains half drawn. And then I saw myself, me inside, standing in front of the window, holding the remote, staring at a TV. This TV, I remember trying to rationalize it. Some weird feed, a prank. Maybe someone set up a camera? I went outside, heart pounding, checking across the street under the yellow sodium light. Nothing. No van, no strange car, no reflection. Just wind in the trees and the hum of distant traffic. When I came back in, the screen was dark again. The next morning, I found my mailbox door hanging open, letters scattered. Maybe the wind, I thought, though it hadn't been that strong. Out of morbid curiosity, I turned on the TV. Same channel, same angle, same still image, except this time my front door was open in the picture. My front door was not open in real life, at least not yet. It sounds stupid now, but I started keeping track, scene by scene, detail by detail. Every time I turned on that channel, it showed something that hadn't happened yet. A neighbor's dog escaped the following day. After I'd seen it on the screen, a delivery driver tripped on my walkway 2 hours after the broadcast showed it. Then, 2 nights later, it showed something else. The angle had changed. The view moved closer. You could see the edge of my living room carpet now, the arm of my recliner, the faint reflection of a figure sitting there. Me. Only this time I wasn't moving. I couldn't shake the dread that began to grow. In that cold space behind the ribs, the kind that feels like someone else is breathing for you. I covered the TV with the blanket. Didn't help. The next time it came on by itself. No sound, just that same live stillness, that waiting tension in the shadows of my own house. I unplugged it. 15 minutes later, I heard it hum softly to life again. The screen glowed through the blanket like a dim eye. By the 4th day, the thing in the reflection, the me on the screen, wasn't quite right. The head tilted at a sharper angle. The eyes were darker, emptier, and the reflection had its hand extended toward the glass, fingertips pressing against the inside. My chest hurt. I wanted to destroy it, but when I lifted a hammer, the screen lightened, and I saw something else. The reflection of a younger version of myself, 20 years younger, laughing, alive before the divorce, before the loneliness, before all the small, slow failures filled my house with ghosts only I could feel. That broke me down. I let the hammer fall. I called the store the next day, disconnected. I drove out there. The sign was gone. Windows covered in plywood. Every trace of the place vanished, like it had never existed. Not just closed, gone. That night I sat in front of the blank screen, exhausted. I told myself I'd toss it tomorrow. One last night, I thought. One last look. When I turned it on, it didn't show the street anymore. It showed the interior of my own living room, in soft lamplight exactly as it was. Me sitting there, remote in hand. There was a knock. Not on my door, on the TV screen. A sharp, hollow rap that made my bones flinch. Then again, the reflection, my reflection, stood up and turned away from the screen, out of frame. But the sound of footsteps came from behind me, not from the TV. I didn't move, couldn't. The air felt thin, electric, alive with growing silence. Then the reflection, no, not the reflection anymore. The other me stepped back into view. He looked straight at me through the glass. He smiled, and behind him on the TV version of my wall, there was a figure I'd never seen before. Someone tall, faceless, their fingers sliding across my shoulder. I felt it too, cold and dry. Then the screen blinked black. They found me sitting in front of that television 3 days later. Neighbors called because of the smell of something burning. You can still see the scorch mark on the carpet where the power cord melted. The TV, it was gone. But if you ever see one for sale, Just one, the last one. Don't touch it, because some bargains show you more than the price tag. You ever walk into a place you swear used to be bigger? That's what hit me first. The shrinking, the way Holloway's department store used to feel endless when I was a kid. Endless rows of fluorescent lit promise. And now it's like the walls leaned in. Sometime over the last 20 years, tired of waiting for me to come back, I came because of a letter, a real letter, mailed, handwritten in tight cursive I didn't recognize. It said something like, "Your layaway account in Department 23 remains active. Please retrieve your item to avoid forfeiture." I laughed when I read it, just a quick bark of disbelief. Holloway's had gone out of business 15 years ago, boarded up, dust settling on the mannequins like fossil ash. But there it was, my name, the old address, a smudged but legible date in the top corner, May 3rd, 2023. I kept the letter in my jacket pocket for a week, chewing on the fact that nobody in town talked about Department 23. We had electronics, women's wear, toys, but no one remembered a 23rd department. And yet, on a gray Saturday morning, there I was, standing in front of the old building, a shiver of nostalgia creeping through my ribs like static. The glass doors opened without a sound. Dust motes glimmered in stale air, catching the last of the morning light. The entranceway rugs still bore the Holloway's logo, half faded like a ghost of itself. The smell hit me next. Powdery perfume, faintly sour. Under years of neglect, 1,000 customers' footsteps had lived and died here. You could feel it in the walls. Every sound echoed too loud in the emptiness. My shoes on the tile, the creak of a half-displayed sign, swaying on one hinge. I walked past the beauty counter where my mother once bought cheap lipstick she pretended was expensive. I saw in my head her reflection in the mirror there, eyes bright, smiling, alive. She died when I was 16. Holloway's was our Saturday escape. Layaway Department 23, I muttered to no one. A map by the restroom still hung on the wall, faded, cracked, but legible enough to make out numbers 1 through 22. No 23. Yet at the far end, beyond furniture, a blank gray square sat empty, unmarked. I followed the aisle lights. Some still worked, stuttering faintly. The further I went, the thicker the dust. Chairs half shrouded in yellowed plastic, old registers sitting like mausoleums. I found myself whispering sorry when I brushed against displays, like I might wake something slumbering beneath them. The gray square wasn't empty after all. A narrow hallway branched off from it. It looked wrong somehow. Different flooring, darker walls, dim light that seemed to hum in a frequency I could feel behind my teeth. No Department 23 sign. Just a door. Beige. Metal handle. A crisp rectangle where a label had been peeled away. I turned the handle. It opened without resistance. Inside, a small desk, flickering monitor, and one of those old receipt printers, the kind that makes that chuck 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 noise, like something gnawing on paper. A single overhead fluorescent bulb buzzed above, lighting the room in headache white, and behind the desk, someone sat. "Welcome back," she said. Her voice was bright but strained, like someone rehearsing warmth after forgetting how it sounds. It took me a moment to recognize her. The short-cropped hair, the pearl earrings, my mother, or something wearing her face. I didn't scream. You don't in those moments. The mind tries to protect itself, to insist, no, you're making connections that don't exist. I don't understand, I said. She smiled, that same sad, apologetic smile she used to wear when she forgot her wallet at the register. "You made a promise," she said softly, reaching under the counter. "You put something on layaway?" My heart drummed so hard, I thought it might bruise my ribs. She lifted a small box, cardboard tied with fading blue ribbon. My handwriting scrolled across the tag. "Department 23, hold for pickup, paid in full. I didn't remember writing that. I took it, stupid instinct overriding fear. Inside was something wrapped in tissue paper, yellowed at the edges. When I peeled it back, I found a toy, a tiny red wind-up car. I knew that car. I'd wanted it when I was 8, tagged it for Christmas. Mom said we'd put it on layaway, since money was tight. Then, a month later, she got sick, and Christmas never really came. I thought it had just been forgotten. Until now. As I stared at it, the box lid vibrated beneath my hands, faintly at first, then harder, like a heartbeat. A sound rose in the room. Faint wheels spinning, echoing laughter. The shrill ring of a department store intercom. "All sales final," came her whisper. The room spun. The walls breathed. Her eyes, my mother's eyes, went glassy, dilated. The smile stretched too far. I dropped the box. The toy car hit the floor but didn't stop. Kept rolling, impossibly in circles around my feet. Faster, faster, leaving faint burn marks on the tile. "Stop it," I shouted. But my own voice sounded wrong, muffled like I was underwater. Her silhouette flickered, breaking into the hum of fluorescent light. I caught flashes, her hospital bed, the sound of wheezing, a Christmas tree half decorated, memory and reality folding in on each other, until I couldn't tell which one was true. Then darkness swallowed it whole. When I woke, I was lying near the old furniture department. Afternoon sunlight slanted through a broken skylight. The hall with the beige door was gone. Just an empty wall now, streaked where paint didn't match. The box was beside me, empty. My hands stank faintly of metal and burnt dust. I left Holloway's that day, stumbling out into the parking lot where weeds had chewed through asphalt. The wind had that dry electric stillness. Storms bring right before they hit. I checked the letter again that night, hoping to make sense of it, but the ink had smeared, and when I held the paper to the lamp, I realized there was something written on the back, something faint pressed from the other side. Department 23 will hold your memories until paid in full. Sometimes late at night, I hear that faint chuck of a receipt printer when no one else does. And once I found a tiny red wheel underneath my couch, like something rolled out just far enough to remind me. I haven't gone back though, haven't even driven past the ruins, because I know that if I ever go near that place again, she'll be waiting behind that beige door, smile rehearsed and perfect, asking, "Are you ready to make another payment?"